Hello, this is Richard Reyes from Progphonic for Sonic Perspectives. Today, we are talking with Mathew Parmenter from the highly regarded progressive rock band Discipline, based in the U.S., and talking about the band and their monumental album, Unfolded Like Staircase. Mathew, thank you very much for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Great. I really appreciate you joining us here today. My first question is, the band formed in 1987, and that was about 33 years ago. Can you tell us a little bit about how the band got together and formed? What was it like in those early years, and what were you playing or writing?
We all knew each other in our high school, and I played together with the guitarist and would, write songs, and he would sort of learn them. After high school, we started getting a little more serious about trying to put together a full band. And then by 1987, we officially decided, okay, we're going to do this. We stole the name Discipline as our band name, and, which basically we took from the King Crimson album of the same name. We thought, we thought that was a good name for a band, and we took it. We started getting more serious about performing and getting ready to perform in front of people. And at around that time, 1988, 1989, we started playing shows in and around the Detroit area, which is where we're from.
Very, very cool. So you started really early then.
Yeah, the guitarist is, I think, 2 years younger than I am. And we met in a jazz class that met before school. I was supposed to be the keyboard player. I really couldn't play keyboard jazz. He was the guitarist, but he could play a lot of blues style guitar, and I was so impressed when I saw him play, this person who was a couple of years younger than me, and then I sort of sidled up to him and asked if he would like to get together sometime, that I had some songs and we get together, and I would show him parts and show him songs, and he could pick them up very quickly, and one thing led to another, and eventually we started this band.
Wow, that was the birth of Discipline. And it looks like you started playing the really big festivals around 2008, I think it was, playing almost at all the major, like Nearfest, Terra Incognita, and Rozfest, and you continue to play those large festivals today. And I've seen there have been a lot of accolades written in magazines about the band and the album Unfolded Like Staircase. So I want to read a couple of these. Like Progressive Magazine said, unbelievable, a progressive statement of epic proportions that rock. And Belgium Stage Magazine said, an Olympic discipline. 20 years from now, Unfolded Like Staircase will be seen as a milestone of prog revival heaven. And New Zealand rock critic Kev Rowland said about Discipline, one of the most important bands to come out of America in the last 25 years, based in Detroit, Michigan. So my question is, at what point did you feel the band's work was acknowledged? Were there any moments that you can recall that you said, wow, people really love this, we're doing the right thing?
Well, I guess releasing that album was sort of a high point, because after that album came out, we started to get a much bigger international audience and started seeing a lot of our first CD, the one that had come out prior to that. We started seeing some, people used to write letters. It was before really email was popular. And so you'd get letters in the post and stuff. But after the Unfolded Like Staircase album came out, we started seeing a lot more people writing from different countries and things, and that was nice. But I never really felt like, we had arrived or anything. It was always fairly underground. And, even though you might read some nice reviews there, it's a small niche audience. And, so we're grateful for the audience that we have, but it never really felt like we had, become recognizable or anything like that. It was always fairly low key, but successful in its own way, because we did feel like we were doing something unique, and we were proud of that album. Also, it was kind of interesting too, because just prior to recording that album, we performed with a band from Sweden called ANEKDOTEN here in the U.S. We also played with a band called ECHOLYN. And I was realizing that there was more, like it was this period in like 1993 to 96, where I was realizing there was an audience for this music that I was interested in doing. And, there was virtually no audience for that music in Detroit, where I'm from. Sort of what people call progressive rock was sort of eschewed. Nobody really wanted to, I don't know. Most people were doing punk rock and stuff in Detroit, that kind of influence.
Plus, Detroit's, isn't that like the home of Motown?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's absolutely true. But it seems like at the time of the 90s, it seemed like post-punk was the name of the game. And we, dabbled in that sort of thing too. But anyway, once we sort of like righted our canons and decided that we wanted to do this style of music and to do it as well as we could, it was encouraging because there was this audience internationally. So even though in Detroit we didn't really feel we had a little audience actually at the time, it was kind of nice because I would dress up in costumes and people would come to see the strange shows. But once we started finding an audience outside of Detroit, we really sort of didn't worry about the local shows as much. We were just focused on making a good record, and I was hopeful that there would be an audience for it.
Well, it was an amazing album for sure that I think a lot of people have heard, and hopefully a lot more as well. So you mentioned costumes, and I know your early shows were extremely memorable, filled with theatrics, and you wore costumes, and you're still well known for painting your face white. I read that you were nicknamed the Magic Acid Mime. Clearly, this is all part of your art form. How did this come about? Because all this kind of still remains part of your iconic image.
It came about, I was starting to dress up in costumes before the mime face came about. The mime face came about, I was already doing a couple of costumey things with the band. And then Halloween is really big in the States and in the Detroit area, Michigan in particular. And so it was like a Halloween party, and I was going and I dressed up in this mime face. And John Boda, the guitarist, said, "Oh my God, you're the Magic Acid Mime!" And so this was like circa 1989, 1988, something like this. And then I was like, I'm going to wear this on stage, and it became sort of the thing. So ever since then, I just wore this face. Yeah. And I like it very well because as a performer, I've always viewed myself as a songwriter first and a singer second. I like to dress up with the face because I see it when people take video and stuff. I see that it looks strange, and I kind of like that. I like, for example, if I were to make the same faces without the mime face, I would probably just look like red-faced and strange, like angry. But with the mime face, it really accentuates sort of the I don't know, it becomes more theatrical, I guess. Yeah. Anytime you wear a mask, I guess it does.
I do love it because it is pure art form, and it does add, because I've seen so much to your performances, which are so lyrically, not just lyrically rich, but the way you sing just grabs people. Like every word people hinge on it. It just, so it all works. It's phenomenal. So I want to talk about 3 of the tracks in particular, and to start off with Canto 4, which is indeed a masterpiece of Prog. The song is really complex. It's got different movements, which I love them all. And the opening is really forceful. You hear this pounding shudder leading into these keys and a pristine guitar, and there's so much stylistically going up. And then when you open up lyrically, it's dark into some figure that's like you can feel regret. It's highly reflective. So what can you tell us a little bit about the song?
Well, I was reading Dante's Inferno when I was in high school, and I had a collection of classic books. This was in English, of course, but I was reading passages from that, and it's broken up into chapters, which they call cantos. And the 4th one is about this level of hell called limbo. Like I always thought growing up that limbo, like I'd heard of limbo, like I'd heard what's the fellow's name? George Carson do a routine about limbo. It's part of his comedy, And I'd heard about limbo. I had some theological knowledge, but I always thought it was just where unbaptized babies went. And then when I was reading this book, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Limbo is actually considered a part of hell. And it's not just unbaptized babies. It's anybody who would have been born prior to the Messiah, prior to having been saved. So, like, and I thought, wow, that's just crazy. And in the story, like, they go in there, and there are some, like, famous heroes and such that are in limbo, that, you know, from the ancient world. That just struck me as sort of, like, kind of unfair to think that all these people are in hell, all these souls are in hell because they were born at the wrong time. They didn't. It's not that they were, you know, Christian or not Christian. They didn't really have a choice. They were born prior to Christ, and so they're stuck in hell. And I thought that was really kind of seemed kind of unfair, and so that was the genesis of this song.
Oh, and it's a great song.
Yeah, so it's about it's sort of narrated by this person who's kind of like grumbling about his ill luck.
evermore, with diamonds in the heavens and a throng upon the shore. I dreamed I was a good man, a father with a trade. I didn't see it coming, that was no choice that I made. And here I am in limbo, dark and deep and thick with clouds o'erspread. The eons tick like seconds in the village of the dead. change that I may belong. Here there's no tool but for the hopeless. Stand alone when his faith is strong. I would give all to have known before it I would have changed that I may belong. Here there's no tool but for the hopeless. Stand alone when his faith is strong. I would give all to have known before it I would have changed that I may belong.
You end the album with Before the Storm, which is in two parts. Part one, you hear this ocean opening up, and it feels like the rain and the thunder, I think, is ending. What can you tell us a little bit about the ending of the album?
Well, that song starts out, I think, as perhaps the most accessible. What you're talking about, what we would call the part one, is the most accessible song. I think if one listens to it, it's fairly singable and normal sounding. It does start to meander and start to do a little bit of like not being comfortable in its original path. But I think it's perhaps the most accessible one. Then, of course, it ends on a rather dissonant note, which fades out. And then the part two, which is the follow-up, fades in on the same note. And then it gets really bombastic. But as far as if I were to just narrow my focus on the part one, that's really the core of that song. And it's sort of about like aimlessness and not having perhaps control over one's own destiny. And one might argue that Crutches is similar, but there's a difference. I don't know why. One seems more like angry and upset. The other one seems to be more like just taking it in and allowing it to be the way of life.
Well, thank you very much for that. That's great insight to these three, what I consider very important pieces to the overall album. And every single song on this is fantastic. Trying to pick three is difficult. So thank you for that.
As if I had a choice to change the course, you think I'd choose to go the way of the storm. And every vessel here in this randomness just seems to verify our unity of form. And I can't remember before the storm or the ocean. Won't you sit a while and let me look at you? I can still see the sun in your eyes, and I can see you there like it's yesterday. Though it's years since we said our goodbyes, and I can't remember before the storm or the ocean.
So the next question I have is, a lot of people say your music resembles bands like Van der Graaf Generator, and some have said the music is alternative, and others have said it's symphonic or art. I was wondering, how do you describe your musical style?
Well, we used to, out of the gate, we always called it art rock, which sounds very pretentious. And I don't know. I really enjoy Van der Graaf Generator, and in fact, it was this Swedish band that I mentioned earlier, ANEKDOTEN, that introduced me to them. It was on that very tour because they said to me, "Oh, you must be influenced by Van der Graaf Generator," and I sort of said, "Well, no, I haven't heard them before," and they thought I was kidding. And so then it was back in the days when you would make mixtapes, so their bass player sent me some mixtapes of Van der Graaf, and I kind of got into them at that point.
Oh, wonderful.
So it was really nice. That guy's just way over the top good.
Yeah.
So, but, I don't really describe the music much. I usually tell people it's pretentious and get a little self-deprecating about it because most people just don't dig it, It really is a small niche audience, and those people, hopefully some of them are pretty passionate about it. It seems like they are, but it's like my family, that's not their thing,
Yeah, I understand that. So it truly is progressive rock. It does have so many movements and so many things come together, and you do it just so well. So let's talk about the album then, Unfolded Like Staircase. First, before we actually get into a couple of songs, I understand you're in the middle of mixing and remastering this epic album, which is touted as a crown jewel of prog rock by many people, including myself. So why a remix versus just a release to get this masterpiece back into print?
So why not just re-release it as it originally was, you mean?
Right, yeah. Because it's a lot of work.
Yeah, well, and that's true. And honestly, if it weren't for Mark and Raina Monforti, I probably wouldn't have put the work into it. I'm talking about work that I'm involved in, so I'm biased. But it's always been like sounding cool, like strange music, a lot of changes and a lot of like recurring themes, and hopefully developing and hopefully giving somebody chills at one point or another. It's always been like that, and it worked. But it wasn't a very good mix. We did it on the quick. We self-funded the album. Well, actually, we did have some help on the first album, and on the second album, we did actually have some help on that. However, we mixed it on the cheap. We were trying to pinch pennies, and so we were doing it ourselves and doing it in the studio rather quickly, and it was a rush job, basically. And furthermore, we didn't have the skill set as mixers, we were doing the best that we could, I guess, at the time. And it was done prior to like digital audio workstations like Pro Tools and what have you. Mm-hmm. It was all done on a board. The board did have automation where it could record, it could remember faders, but the automation board was crapping out. So like the songs were very long, and the board couldn't handle like these very, very long songs. And so it would fritz out, and it would shut off, and we would swear, and they would have to start it up again, and eventually we recorded the things, but we had to sort of like, I don't know, just deal with it, and it was a rush job, as I say, and was never a good mix, frankly. I listen back, when I listen to it, I hear it. People say it's bassy. People say that it's a good album, but it was really badly mixed. Many people say, and it's funny because once Mark Monforti started like promoting the idea of this re-release where it gets remixed and remastered, then people start coming out and saying you should not touch the original. It should be fine as it was. All of a sudden you've got people that think it's the bee's knees. But like my general impression has been that most people acknowledge, even if they like the music, that the mix is a bit dull. So
good. Well, I know you have Terry Brown working on it, so it should be fabulous and pristine when it's all done. So I'm looking forward.
It is actually the mixing is actually in the final stages, and it is incredible.
Oh, so you're happy with it? You've heard it. That's excellent.
Oh my God! It's much better.
It's giving you chills, I can tell.
Well, there are points when I listen to it and I think, okay, this part does give me chills, which is really the ultimate goal. So somehow he's able to mix so that it sounds fresh and clear. But he also, I don't know, he has this way of like doing things that are like what you might call ear candy, but then also at times just staying right out of the way, and you wouldn't even think about the mix. You would just think it sounds like a really solid band. And that's the other thing. I was listening to this mix and I thought, wow, these guys are pretty good. I was really impressed, and I thought, wow, this makes us sound like a real band, like a Pinocchio moment,
Oh, that's hysterical. So then we have the track Crutches. This is another piece that's filled with high emotional tensions of restlessness and guilt. And once again, the music creates this dark atmosphere that takes the listener on essentially a roller coaster ride. And the song is written in 4 pieces: The Carrot, The Silent Mirror, Down the Hatch, and then Crutches. What can you tell us about this epic piece?
Well, it's not as narrative as the canto song. It's not like sometimes we'll try to tell a story. This song does not have a narrative in my mind. It doesn't have a beginning and a middle and an end. It's sort of more just a contemplation about this speaker's being ill at ease with his life and his faith and his belief in himself. And he's struggling looking for meaning in life, in his life. As you say, it develops. You said it's a roller coaster. It does have a lot of twists and turns. It moves from very dissonant chords to quiet passages, which can be pretty attractive, maybe. And but then kind of like it's a little overwhelmingly dissonant towards the end. It's just sort of like maybe a tone poem on self-loathing, I guess. I don't know.
I tell you, as a piece, it really just grabs me and moves me through different emotional feelings as I listen to it, which is probably why I love it so much.
Well, that's good.
I owe everything I have. I own nothing. Reach out for anything at all. I'm still sinking inside. This cancer grows. This crippling doubt is eating me. A good man. It's getting hard for me to breathe. To what end? I struggle on, believing one day to be free. I can't cope, I'm losing hope. The rope I climb is choking me. Desire, the carrot leads me on. I'm so hungry. A snake devouring its tail in the Dead Sea. Lonely, I feel the ache. I long for something to believe. I move on, still every step returns me to the path I lead. And what choice have I to shape the constellations I perceive? sadness and my madness reside. Look at yourself. If I didn't know, I'd call a priest. Someone to bless and to believe this part of me. Wake up from your sleep. Wake from your slumber. There is no escape. No way left to hide. Who are you to blame? This is your harvest. Can you face your fate? Face the silent mirror.
I was wondering if there's anything else you'd like to tell us about the band. I know you were in lockdown, but any future plans for the band?
Well, we had a live stream about a month ago, and it was real fun. And it was associated with the Prog Stock Festival. They're doing a live stream virtual series on weekends, and we got to do one of those. And that was actually the day that Mark Monforti announced the Kickstarter for this new re-release of the Unfolded album. And so we announced it sort of during that live stream. So that was fun to prepare for that. And we are working on a new record. Every band says that, but we are. And it's the songs are all written now. We're just sort of learning them, but we're also taking some time to learn some songs from Unfolded, like Staircase, that we haven't played in a long, long time. So hopefully when the lockdown ends, we will be able to play, the songs from Unfolded as well as these songs from this new unreleased record.
Wow. Now I'm really excited. A new album, and I certainly will be at one of your future concerts for sure, because just seeing you live is just absolutely phenomenal. So,
thank you.
Yeah. So thank you, Mathew. I'd just like to say thank you for spending your time with us today and giving us a glimpse into Discipline and this masterpiece of Prog, Unfolded like Staircase. Thank you.
That's great. You can keep all that praise coming. I love to hear it. There you go.
Great.
No, but it's so strange. But no, thank you for your time, and thanks to everybody for listening to this, whomever's listening. And hope we can do it again sometime.
Best of luck to you. So if you're looking
you.
for more information on the band, you can go to their Facebook page, Discipline Band, or by going to the band website at strungoutrecords.com. And again, if you're interested in purchasing the band's music, you can go to the usual purchase sites. And of course, if you're interested in obtaining a copy of this album on vinyl for the first time, CD or digitally, you can go to the Kickstarter and look up remixing and remastering of Discipline's Unfolded Like Staircase. This should be a pristine recording, as Terry Brown, who has worked with bands like Rush, has taken the reins with the band to do this work. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for listening. This is Richard Reyes reporting for Sonic Perspectives. You can also catch my weekly progressive rock radio show, Progphonic, every Thursday from 1 to 4 p.m. CST on progrock.com. And feel free to join our Prog family in the chat room as we listen to the best of progressive rock music.